What is up, guys? It's Sky, and the bombshell dropped last week. DICE rolled out the spring patch for Battlefield 1, and it brought with it some buffs to the AA and the nerf to the trench fighter loadout. In the gameplay, you see a couple clips from some attack plane gameplay, playing Conquest on Foul Fortress, and eventually you'll see me playing on St. Quentin Scar. A couple 50+ kill plane gameplay showing that you can still have a lot of fun in planes in Battlefield 1. And really, the ground support attack plane's always been pretty good. It's just that the trench fighter had virtually all the strengths of the attack plane without any of its weaknesses. You could mow down squads and squads of infantry in droves at will. At the same time, you were really hard to shoot down, either by enemy planes or the AAs. As it stands, it seems like the ground support attack plane is king once again. You're going to still have the same stopping power as the trench fighter, but you're going to have to work a little harder to stay up. In this video, I'll go over some of the changes made to the plane gameplay since the recent patch, and I'll give you a couple tips on how to go up against fighter planes and the attack plane. Suffice to say, it's not like it used to be. I did put the trench fighter through its paces in a couple games. The Rankin darts just don't do as much damage as they used to. You have to be really accurate, and even if you are accurate, you're going to get a lot of 50-60 damage hits. Really, you can still make do doing straight front for the trench fighter, but you're going to have to make sure that your targets are damaged before you try to dart them. You're either going to have to rely on your teammates to damage the enemy or get them with your cannons before we finish your strafe with the darts. That's all well and good, but the nerf to the Rankin darts and the buff to the AA really kind of complemented each other and acted more like a 2x buff to the AAs. Before the patch, the best counter to the AA obviously was the trench fighter. If you stay mobile, then you could dodge all the shots and get in close and use your darts to kill whoever was on the AA. Even on a map like Monte Grappa, it was very possible to stay mobile enough to get all the enemies off the AAs, even as clustered a map as that was. Now that the Rankin darts are all but unreliable, it becomes a lot tougher to counter the AAs. I mean, you can still dart someone off the AAs if they're not looking at you. You can soften them up with your cannons and then finish them off. In this regard, the ground support attack plane is king once again. A little harder to stay up compared to the trench fighter. You're not going to be able to go up against multiple AAs, but you do have the added benefit of being able to destroy the turrets. In Conquest, if you destroy key AA turrets, then you get a few minutes of free time in the air, unbothered by AAs. With all that being said, the trench fighter is still the best fighter plane loadout. It has plenty of air-to-air capability, and the spot flares are really the best plane gadget in the game. I mean, they're valuable enough when you're playing the scout class and you only get 2 and you have to seek out ammo boxes to get more. But the trench fighter and the ground support attack plane have an unlimited amount of spot flares that you can drop on a very fast cooldown. Lighting up key objectives is one of the best things you can do in a plane. Now, the trench fighter is still good. It's a lot better than the fighter plane from BF4. You can still get kills, but if I want to jump in a plane in a public match, I want to really feel like I'm making a difference in the air-to-ground gameplay. And to be able to do that in a plane, you have to be able to get multi-kills. You have to be able to take out large clumps of infantry in a single pass. And you have to do it on key objectives. I mean, getting a kill or 2 here or there, it can add up to like 50 kills at the end of the round. Especially if you're not really contested by any enemy planes or AA. But to really be able to affect Conquest, you have to be able to delete multiple people off of an objective. And really at this point, only the ground support attack plane can do that. Which in my opinion is fine. You can still average 40-50 kills a game in an attack plane. It does suck that the trench fighter is not as good as it used to be. I really enjoyed flying the fighter planes. I like how fast they are. And I really like going up against good dogfighters. Or 2 or 3 lousy dogfighters. But at the end of the day, I'm fine with the nerf because it makes sense. To all the people crying that they can't get 50+ kill games in the trench fighter anymore, just fly the attack planes. I mean, I flew in 3 games, and in 2 out of 3 games, I got 50+ kills. I'm really not upset about the nerf to the trench fighter because, like I said before, it makes sense. There's no way that one loadout should be the best at everything. That's like putting a gun in the game that can beat SMGs at close range and snipers at long range. And really, the ground support attack plane was always my favorite loadout. I really liked how it worked. I liked how the cannons were powerful, but you need to be slightly accurate to be good with them. I like that you got the magnified scope so that you can kind of see your targets before you approach your strafe. The only issue was that the trench fighter was almost as good and everyone was running it because it was an easy button loadout. It came to a point where pretty much everyone on the enemy team would run the trench fighter, so you would have to run the trench fighter to be able to stay up. Hopefully now we'll start to see a little more variety in plane loadouts. As for the buff to the damage of the AAs, to me it's almost placebo more than anything. I'm almost wondering if it made any difference in the number of shots to kill against planes. I jumped in the fighter plane and the same dodge and move tactics worked, and I was able to stay up against the AA. I also didn't notice too much of a difference in the shots to kill against the attack plane. I'm sure there is, but if you're in a situation where you were going to die before, you'll probably still die. But I wouldn't necessarily go crying foul about it. What I did think it did was it increased the perception of the players that the AA is more powerful, as I'm handed my single death in this gameplay by a friendly ram. But the perception of being more powerful is going to result in more people jumping on the AA. So for better or for worse, it's going to be even harder to stay up in a plane than it used to be. Again, that's something I'm okay with, but some other people might not be. It's not to say that if you're a dogfighting god that you'll be able to take on 2v1s and 3v1s against decent pilots in fighter planes in an attack plane. That's really not true, and you're just going to have to keep your wits about you and make smarter decisions on selecting your loadout. I think as it stands, the ground support loadout is the primary loadout you should be using. You'll just have to play smarter and work together with your teammates to counter enemy fighter planes. But there will just be times when you'll have to spawn the trench fighter. But again, that decision is no longer automatically made for you before you even join the game. As for going up against fighter planes and attack plane, that was something I was going to focus on when I first started flight school. But really, it became moot because why stay in an attack plane when you can just spawn the trench fighter and do just as good at air to ground. But like I said, the ground support attack plane has always been my favorite loadout. There was a time when I had significantly more kills in the attack plane than the trench fighter. Going up against fighter planes and attack plane is something I like to expand on in future videos. Really, since the game is still in its beginning stages, there's still a large casual population. 90% of games that you jump in are going to have mediocre pilots. I've never been a fan of seat switching because you can beat most of these pilots pretty easily anyway, and if you're going up against a good pilot, then seat switching is not really going to do anything for you. Really, the biggest thing you're going to see if you get the better of a fighter plane pilot and an attack plane is they're just going to run away from you to where they spawn and lead you to an AA. Previously in a trench fighter, I would just chase him down, delete the guy off the AA, and then proceed to shoot him down. While that tactic may still be sort of viable in the attack plane, you'll waste a lot of time chasing around mediocre pilots. Most of the time in the attack plane, it's better to cover a zone and play games of keep away with enemy fighter planes. If you get a tail that's really hard to shake, then it's good to work on your rolling scissors. Here, this guy kind of gets the jump on me, and this is not the best example. He takes out my wing. I think a lot of people don't really realize the key to the rolling scissors. The rolling scissors is not just a barrel roll. You need to be able to make subtle micro switches. You need to vary both the angles of your barrel roll and also the width. A lot of people make the mistake of just doing barrel rolls. Really, switching in a rolling scissors is almost the same as switching in a turning battle. The end goal of the rolling scissors is to either force your opponent to overshoot you or buy enough time so that your teammate can come and help. Really, my rolling scissors technique is not the best. It's not something I ever really relied on in the fighter plane, but when I perfect it, I'll probably make a video on it. Really, the maneuverability of the attack plane is not bad, but it just has a huge lack of speed when compared to the fighter plane. In a 50-50 dogfight where you go head on against each other, you can do pretty well against a mediocre fighter plane pilot. Again, it's important to work together with your team. My wingman helped me out earlier, so in the gameplay I'm going to return the favor, and I'm going to get a fighter plane off of his tail. It's really best if you can keep your wits about you, have some awareness, and work together with your team to establish air superiority. It's definitely not as easy as it used to be, but hopefully from these gameplays you'll be less discouraged. The trench fighter will be missed, but it's still possible to be very effective in a plane in Battlefield 1. Another aspect of gameplay in which the ground support attack plane just blows the trench fighter out of the water is in the fog and the sandstorm. The Rankin darts were pretty much all but ineffective when the fog rolled in. I mean, you can still hunt and peck here and there using your spot flares in the minimap, but it's nothing like the ground support attack plane because you can kind of hunt and peck for hit markers. In fact, I was even more effective in this gameplay when the fog rolled in. I was getting triples at will. We got the enemy team pretty much spawn trapped on E flag on San Quentin Scar, and that's pretty much a field day for the ground support attack plane. Dropped my spot flares, lit up everyone on E flag like a Christmas tree, let her rip with the cannons, dropped my bombs, and virtually got a 6-piece here. So if you want to use planes to be a KD boost in Battlefield 1, then there you go, you can still do it. As for me personally, I'm still primarily driven to become a better dogfighter, whether it be in this game or the next Battlefield, or the new Star Wars Battlefront that's going to come out at the end of the year. I just want to keep getting better and better, and I'm going to share everything I do with you guys in a video. So hopefully you guys stay tuned. Hopefully you guys are still enjoying flying in Battlefield 1. Appreciate you guys watching. It's kind of a long-winded video. Thanks for watching, guys. If you're new here, leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.